Sophia also says that I'm more suited to be the successor and president of the Thompson Company than you are, so please hurry up and sign this. My brother presented me with the divorce papers that Sophia had already signed. It can't be helped now. Originally, I too had wanted to separate if possible. Though it turned out unexpectedly, I guess it's all right. That's how I felt. The very idea of someone like you marrying a CEO's daughter was a mistake. She is out of your league. Tough luck. As for alimony, I'll give you as much as you want, you poor thing. As he received the documents I had signed, my brother said that, "Why would you become the president of Thompson? The president is your younger brother, isn't he?" No, that's the old story. Sophia is divorcing James and remarrying me, so the new president will be me. That's where you're mistaken. The lawyer said this with a laugh, but my brother didn't seem to believe it at all. When my brother found out this was true. My name is James, I'm 32 years old. I work at Thompson Corporation, a major trading company. I belong to the sales department. It's a large company, so there are many employees who graduated from top national universities or well-known universities abroad. But I joined Thompson as a general sales employee after finishing high school. The reason I didn't go to college is due to family circumstances. In my second year of high school, the company my father ran went bankrupt. Until then, we had lived a relatively affluent life, but due to a large amount of debt, we had to leave our house. My brother, Brandon, was in his fourth year of college with only half a year left until graduation, and he already had a job offer. Thanks to our parents scraping together just enough for his final semester's tuition, my brother was able to graduate from college and left home as soon as he started his job. As for me, I still had half of my high school life left. Fortunately, my grades were good, and I was able to graduate with the help of a scholarship, but there was no way I could afford to further my education. My parents asked my brother if he could help me with my education, but his response was cold. "I just started working, you know. I can't afford that at all. Sorry, but James will have to find a job." After being told that, I gave up on further education and got a job. I considered going to college on a scholarship, but the debt my parents had was too overwhelming. I could see a future where, if I went to college, one of them would collapse during those 4 years. If only my brother had contributed even a little to our household expenses, I might have been able to make it through by working part-time, but we didn't receive a single penny of support from him. On the contrary, he frequently demanded money from our already struggling parents, claiming his life was tough. While apologizing to me, my parents were still sending him some money every month. Honestly, I was furious. After all, I had given up on my education to work, yet my brother, who had graduated from a reputable university and secured a good job, was still depending on our parents. Isn't that money coming out of what I earned? Looking back, I realized my parents had always been lenient with my brother since we were kids, and I sighed at the memory. I just focused on doing my best at work. Perhaps because of my efforts, I gradually gained recognition at the company, and my sales performance topped the charts, regardless of my educational background. Our company, a trading firm with an annual turnover said to be around $300 million, mostly makes its sales from our own brand products. Recently, our collaboration items with popular favorite characters have been doing well. We handle character merchandise that even young children can afford at dollar stores, up to wrapped furniture of favorite characters costing up to $10,000. I was the one who proposed the collaboration with these favorite characters. Initially, no one paid any attention to such an idea, but by steadily increasing sales from smaller items, at some point, my work caught the attention of President Thompson. "That's interesting. Let's incorporate these favorites into our brand without sticking to stereotypes. Let's have James, who brought up this idea, take charge." With a single word from the president, I became the head of that project, and it turned out to be a huge success. In my 20s, I was promoted to the head of one of the 3 sales departments, the second sales department. And that led to a certain encounter. It was at the company's anniversary party. "Are you the sales department's hope that Dad mentioned?" Suddenly, a stunning beauty approached me with that question. That woman was Sophia, the president's only daughter. I had heard that the president's daughter was beautiful, but she was far beyond my expectations. I fell in love with Sophia at first sight. Sophia was 2 years older than me and had been divorced before, making her what you might call a divorcee, but I just couldn't help wanting to marry her. Sophia accepted my proposal, recognizing my potential for the future. However, when I went to ask for permission to marry, Sophia's father, the president, didn't look very pleased. "Sophia is our only daughter, born to us in our later years, and we may have spoiled her too much. I'm worried it might be tough for you. I can overcome any hardship as long as I'm with her." I desperately persuaded President Thompson, and he gave us his blessing to marry. Sophia wanted a lavish wedding, but President Thompson preferred a small, intimate ceremony since it was her second marriage, and I wasn't keen on anything too flashy either, so we settled for just taking photos with our parents. That was because I didn't want to invite my brother. Ever since I started working, my brother had continued to receive financial support from our parents without fail. He never visited home and only maintained a relationship with our parents through the money they sent him. Who would want to invite someone like that? Sophia seemed unhappy, but she appeared to be satisfied since we splurged on our honeymoon. We started our married life in the top floor of a big apartment, but our happiness was short-lived. That feeling vanished all too soon. "Why are you coming home so late every day?" "Sorry, it's our busy season, and I might have to work overtime for a while." "Which is more important to you, me or your job?" Sophia began to accuse me with the kind of cliched phrases you often hear. She was incredibly possessive. She would contact me at any time, and keep doing so persistently until I responded. It didn't matter to her whether I was in an important meeting or in the middle of negotiations with a crucial client. And it's not as if she was particularly affectionate towards me, worried, or jealous. She simply didn't like it when things didn't go her way. Proof of that was her refusing to even speak to me when she wasn't in the mood. There were times when I'd come home to find her not there, and she wouldn't contact me until the morning, having been out with friends. After a year of marriage, I was utterly exhausted. I had heard that her previous marriage ended because her husband was selfish and left her, but now I could understand why he might have felt compelled to leave. But Sophia was the daughter of the president, and I had begged her to marry me. It wasn't so simple to just call it quits. I tried my best to improve the situation. After all, she was someone I had once been so in love with that I had asked her to marry me. There was still love there. We had many discussions, trying to fix our flaws. And so, a seemingly calm life continued for a year. A little while into our second year of marriage, an unexpected visitor came to our house. "Wow, you're living in quite a nice place," as expected of Thompson's manager. My brother, whom I hadn't seen in years, looked too young and handsome for his age, 37 years old. Many people are deceived by his appearance. Even our parents have continued to dote on their son from childhood, managing to scrape together his college tuition and continuing to send him money even after our family's finances had collapsed. But why had he suddenly decided to visit now? Though I found it strange, he was still my brother, and I couldn't just turn him away. I welcomed him into our home and entertained him along with Sophia. "Sorry for dropping in unannounced. I wasn't invited to your wedding, and I haven't sent you a wedding gift either, so I decided to just come by." My brother said this and brought out an ostentatiously tacky vase, suggesting we display it in our home. That day passed without any particular issues, and we had a normal conversation before he left. "Your brother, I had seen him in photos, but he's much more charming in person, And the wedding gift was lovely. Such good taste. Sophia excitedly told me this. It was irritating, but I had to admit, my brother was as handsome as an actor. We might disagree on the vase, but Sophia likes flashy things like that. And from that day on, Sophia began to ask about my brother constantly. Just like a fan wanting to know everything about their favorite star, she kept asking various questions, but honestly, I don't know much about my brother. After all, we have a 5-year age gap and weren't that close. Despite being disappointed by my words, Sophia and I started having various conversations like a couple for the first time in a while. Even if the topic was about my brother, it felt like we had returned to the days before our marriage, and I felt a sense of happiness for the first time in a long while. My brother also contacted me a few times, thanking me for the hospitality and saying things like, "We're the only 2 brothers in this world, so we should get along better from now on." I was somewhat pleased by his words. The resentment I had harbored against my brother for so long seemed to be fading away. A few months after I started communicating with my brother, something unexpected happened. "Please divorce me." I was shocked by the sudden request. Even though I had felt like separating at times, I never expected her to suddenly say something like that. When I asked Sophia for a reason, she just kept saying she didn't want to talk about it and that she wanted to divorce no matter what. "Let's calm down and talk about this. Why don't you go back to your parents' house for a while?" But when I checked, she hadn't gone there, which made President Thompson and me quite worried. Sophia sent a message to my cell phone saying she was fine and not to look for her, but there was no further contact after that. What on earth was going on? Just when I started thinking about consulting the police, my brother called again. "Sorry, I'm a bit busy right now and can't really talk." Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, so I called. My brother said something strange and set up a meeting at a certain diner. I had a bad feeling about it, but I couldn't just not go. I decided to go to the designated place. "Sorry for calling you out like this, but I thought it'd be easier to talk in a place with other people around." As I wondered what he meant, I had a feeling I knew what kind of conversation was coming. "Divorce Sophia, she's saying she wants to remarry me." Just as I thought. So that was the ulterior motive behind my brother's sudden visit. He chose a diner with people around to prevent me from making a scene in anger. According to my brother, he secretly exchanged contact information with Sophia at that time, and they had grown close since then. "Sophia says I'm more suited to be the successor and president of Thompson, a glamorous handsome man, rather than a plain guy like you. So hurry up and sign this." My brother handed me the divorce papers that Sophia had already signed. It can't be helped. Originally, I too had thought about separating if possible. Though it turned out unexpectedly, I guess it's all right, that was how I felt. The very idea of someone like you marrying a CEO's daughter was a mistake. She is out of your league. Tough luck. As for alimony, I'll give you as much as you want, you poor thing. As he received the documents I had signed, my brother said that. Hearing those words, I was suddenly reminded of everything my brother had done up until now, and I felt my blood boiling with anger. I had to give up on going to college because my brother wouldn't support me. After I gave up on further education and got a job, my brother depended on my salary to continue receiving financial support from our parents. No matter how much I helped our parents, their fondness for my brother never changed. As I stayed silent and looked down, my brother, misunderstanding my silence, continued with more words. "Do you know how jealous I was when I heard you married Thompson's executive daughter? You, who barely finished school, are too arrogant. You're overstepping your bounds." My brother continued with disdain. "As much as I want, right? Yeah, since I'll be rolling in the $300 million fortune, I'll pay you as much alimony as you want, 1 million, 2 million, whatever." Sophia said the same thing. "Understood. I'll have my lawyer contact you later. For now, take this with you." My brother, smirking, put the papers in his bag and headed for the door. Of course, I didn't see him out. As I reached for the door from the living room to the hallway, my brother had one more thing to say. "Oh, right, I'll be taking this apartment too." "What?" "Sophia told me this place isn't in your name. That means you won't have any right to live here once the divorce is finalized," he said. As he looked around the room affectionately, he added, "I understand you're going through a lot, so I'll give you about a month. I'm quite generous, aren't I?" and left the room, praising himself. "Say whatever you want. You'll be the one crying later," I muttered to myself. Imagining my brother's smug face turning into one filled with tears made me smirk with satisfaction. Soon after, my divorce from Sophia was finalized. "It's a shame. I thought you two might have made it work," President Thompson expressed his regret. "I'm sorry," I apologized. "No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I'm truly sorry for raising a daughter like that." President Thompson apologized in this manner. "No, it's my fault. If only I had connected more with Sophia," I reflected. "Still, I wonder why your brother did such a thing." I explained my thoughts to President Thompson. Perhaps he couldn't stand the fact that someone he looked down upon, like me, had become a director at a top-tier company, and moreover, had married the daughter of a company president. Everything about it probably irked him. He must have been biding his time, waiting for the right moment. Though it would have been difficult right after the marriage, he seemed to be waiting for things to settle down a bit. He was confident in his good looks and thought that if he made a move, Sophia would surely fall for him. And his plan did succeed. I think he believes that Sophia's husband, the successor to Thompson, is the president himself. Well, he's free to think what he wants. The president and I exchanged a wry smile. I immediately hired an attorney, including a claim for damages. I began preparing for divorce proceedings. Both of them seemed willing to pay any amount, and it looked like they were ready to agree to any other conditions as well. I first contacted my brother. I told him that my lawyer would bring the documents, so I wanted him to come to the diner where we had talked before. Unlike you, I can have a gentlemanly conversation, so it could have been at the law firm or that apartment. My brother responded with a tone that could be taken as either confidence or sarcasm. It was hard to tell. "Well, it's fine if we can have a gentlemanly conversation to the end, but just to be safe," I told him, and I could hear a triumphant laugh from the other end of the phone. Having conveyed what I needed to, I emphasized the importance of keeping to the scheduled date and time before hanging up. On the appointed day, my brother and Sophia arrived right on time. Both were clad in high-brand suits, brand watches, and accessories that looked expensive at first glance. According to the lawyer, being a handsome couple, they both suited their attire very well. For the lawyer, who was just proceeding with his duties, it didn't matter what they wore. We first communicated the amount of compensation. "So, Sophia is for $30,000, and I'm for $500,000. That's quite a difference." Despite saying he would pay any amount, my brother seemed to frown upon seeing the discrepancy. The lawyer explained the breakdown. Firstly, since the marriage with Sophia lasted only 2 years, that amount was deemed reasonable. I was satisfied with that. "Why am I being charged so much then?" The lawyer explained that, like Sophia, the compensation for the breakdown of the marital relationship was $30,000, but there were other factors involved. First, there's the matter of your parents' debt. "What?" "Since starting work, James has been helping with the repayment of your parents' debt. Thanks to him, the total amount of debt has significantly decreased, but we would like you to share in that burden." The total amount I had helped with my parents' debt repayment was about $500,000. We decided to include half of that, $250,000, in the compensation amount for my brother. Then, There was $200,000 for the support my parents had provided to my brother from my earnings over the years. Over 14 years, that amount seemed reasonable. We wanted that repaid. And on top of that, we added $20,000 as interest, making a total of $500,000. I thought he might claim something like $1 million or $2 million, but he's a petty man after all. I'm disgusted. Even though he's my brother. All right, I'll pay. Upon hearing the breakdown, my brother had a bitter expression on his face, as if he had bitten into a sour grape, but he grudgingly agreed. With this, we agreed on the amount of the settlement. We obtained both of their signatures on the documents. Next was the division of assets. At this point, my brother gave a sly grin. He must have involuntarily smiled, imagining the apartment, the car Sophia drove away in, and all the rest. However, the actual details were not as he had imagined. Firstly, regarding that high-rise apartment, it belongs to Thompson, so Sophia cannot return there anymore. What? The lawyer explained that the apartment was provided as a company housing by President Thompson when Sophia and I started our married life. What's that all about? My brother nearly stood up in outrage but reconsidered due to the setting and sat back down. Since Sophia said I didn't own it, my brother apparently assumed it was hers. In fact, it seems Sophia thought so too. After all, Daddy said that place should be my home. The car is also treated as a company car, so please return it. What? My brother was taken aback by each statement from the lawyer. The lawyer methodically explained that most of the smaller assets were also owned by her father, President Thompson. As the discussion progressed, my brother seemed to be biting his lip and trembling with frustration, but he still held on, perhaps thinking he would end up with something significant in the end. The lawyer explained that most of the assets used during the marriage did not belong to Sophia, and that I would take all the savings. Why is that? The savings made during the marriage should be split between the spouses. My brother almost stood up again but managed to restrain himself. That's because most of the income earned by James during the marriage was spent by Sophia. What remains is roughly the amount that James had saved before the marriage. My brother involuntarily glared at Sophia, who was pretending to be oblivious. I wasn't extravagant. I was just living a normal life. Sophia genuinely seemed to believe that. After all, as the daughter of a company president, she's a woman who has never known hardship or restraint. She would spend my earnings frivolously, and whenever that wasn't enough, she'd naturally expect her father, the president, to cover the shortfall. My brother bit his lip but took a deep breath and endured it. I had to admire his patience, even though he was my brother. Thus, the settlement between Sophia and me regarding the divorce was completed. Finally, it was time to address what my brother had been eagerly anticipating. So, when should I start showing up at Thompson? Obviously, I can't just become the successor overnight. I need to get accustomed to the company's operations a bit. What? Now it was the lawyer's turn to be puzzled. No, I mean, now that Sophia is divorcing James and marrying me, I'm going to be the successor, right? The next president is me, isn't it? I mean, becoming president overnight just because we got married seems a bit much. Saying this, my brother smirked smugly, imagining the moment, as the lawyer shared with a wry smile. Why would you become the president of Thompson? The president is your younger brother. No, that was before. Sophia is divorcing James to marry me, so the new president is me. That's exactly the misunderstanding. The lawyer said that while laughing, but my brother didn't seem to believe it at all. In the end, my brother refused to believe anything the lawyer said that day. Later, a meeting was arranged in President Thompson's office to explain the situation to my brother and Sophia again. So, I'm not letting Sophia inherit anything from our company. In other words, she's disowned. Daddy, that's terrible. What's terrible? Think about what you've done up to now. I paid all the compensation to your former husband, and I've cleaned up all your messes. Sophia had a history of holding executive positions in her father's company but never lasted long in any role, often dipping into company funds for personal use and causing several businesses to fail. Therefore, she was no longer given work, and in hopes that marriage might settle her down, she was married off to a company president through an arranged marriage. However, her self-centered behavior continued, leading to another divorce. I had hoped that James might be able to handle Sophia well, but it has come to this. If that's the case, I'll make sure to properly discipline Sophia this time. I've looked into your background, and I seriously doubt you're cut out for that. President Thompson, the president, sharply rebuked my brother. My brother is the same type of person as Sophia. With his good looks and spoiled upbringing, he behaves like a king wherever he goes. As a result, he has never succeeded anywhere, hopping from job to job and relying on our parents for support. I'm appointing James as the next president. I've already got the approval from the shareholders meeting. James is my successor. Brandon, do you even understand what a corporation is? Just because you're the president's son-in-law doesn't mean you can just become the president on your own. I was recognized by the shareholders based on my achievements. Hearing this, my brother slumped down dejectedly, while Sophia, seemingly feeling no more than a child scolded by a parent, stormed out of the president's office. After that, I was officially adopted by President Thompson and became the successor to the Thompson family. Actually, this had been discussed when I married Sophia, but I couldn't bring myself to go through with it, considering my parents. Despite being treated differently from my brother, they are still my biological parents. But my parents were complicit. They thought my brother marrying Sophia would secure their own future. I decided to disown my parents. President Thompson, who disowned his daughter, and I, who disowned my parents. Bound by our shared understanding of each other's pain, we became a family tied together by a harsh bond. I came from a poor family and built Thompson into what it is today, after losing my wife, who was by my side during those times. At a young age, I spoiled Sophia too much out of pity, raising her to be the person she is now. President Thompson, no, my father, said this with a sad look on his face. He knew me well, having been with the company since right after high school graduation. Because my biological father's company was like a subsidiary to Thompson. He was well aware of my parents. How they carelessly drove their company into the ground, caused trouble for their employees, and, without any remorse, only lamented their bad luck. And despite being raised by such parents, he had always been watching over me, working hard and honestly. That's why I thought you might be able to do something about Sophia, but I ended up putting you through a lot of hardship. I'm sorry. After being apologized to, I realized I had received the love from him that I never got from my biological parents. Even though we've disowned them, I believe neither I nor my father can completely abandon our blood relatives. But we also know too well that reaching out too easily is a mistake. If they ever truly reflect and wish to live honestly, we'll be there to support them from a distance. Though that day may never come, I want to keep hope alive. After that, my brother and Sophia apparently turned to my parents. I'm not sure if they've officially registered their marriage, but they seem to be getting by somehow as a family of 4. Now that their debts are cleared, they should be able to make it through somehow. I hope they can support each other and live honestly.